Now, looking at the track record of India, we can identify perhaps some good businesses, whether it is Asian Paints or whether it is some great private banks. We can also look at the reasonable amount of corporate governance which is present there because they are audited by big firms. We can perhaps also look at the vision of the promoter because it is available on blogs, it is available on balance sheet. But sir, ultimately it comes down to valuations and how do you value and what is the right price of a business. So how does your framework really identify that you're buying a good business at a reasonable price, valuing the business and finding the right price? How does that work for you?
It's a great question, Nikunj. I wish I could do a whole course on that and actually do that. Uh, um, so let me try to simplify the problem. You see, the original concept of margin of safety was that the value is more than price, and you were actually trying to estimate what that value is. Over time, people have realized that when you try to estimate value, you have to make elaborate predictions about the future, and then you get into that gaming, and then you get into that goal seek, and there are so many variables, and you are over optimistic, and you can change a few assumptions, and you will get the value that you want. So to deal with that, I felt that Graham also, by the way, talked about it. He said in his books that you could either explicitly try to figure out what the value of a business is on a per share basis, and then look for a big margin between that value and the price that you're paying. That's the source of margin of safety. But he had a second definition, which was that I don't know what the value is, but I know the value is a lot more than the price that I'm paying. And the indicators in that direction are high earnings yield on the price that I'm paying. So if you take normal earning power of a business, adjusted for abnormal factors as a percentage of the price that you're paying, that number should be a way more than, let's say, bond yields. Or a big part of the earnings are being paid out as dividends, and the dividend return alone on your initial purchase price is not very far from the bond yield. And when you do that, especially in a high quality business, when you use these valuation principles, or not just valuation principles, I should call them as finding misprice opportunity principles, with the quality dimension that we have picked up from investors like Buffett or Munger and so many others out there, then you start, when you combine these things, you find that there is a business that is growing. It's a very strong balance sheet. It has a moat around its economic castle, and the earnings are going to grow over time. But at the same time, you can buy the stock of this company at a valuation with the earnings yield as a percentage of the stock price is more than twice of AAA bond yield, or the dividend yield is similar to what you could earn in a fixed deposit. Then you start, if you do the math, you will figure out that you're not really paying anything for the growth component of value. Therefore, you start treating growth component of value more like a lottery ticket. If growth happens, then you have very strong belief that it will occur. You're not paying anything for that, so that will make you money. But even if that doesn't happen, you can't lose, because the price that you're paying is so low that the current earnings of the company are more than sufficient to explain, or more than 100% of the stock price. So that method, which I talk about in various case studies in my class, I think is very interesting, because it helps you skirt away from the more difficult question as to how much is the value of this particular business on a per share basis, and sort of nudge you towards an easier question to answer, which is it likely to be worth a lot more than what I'm paying? And that's margin of safety too. The comfort that the value of a business is likely to be worth a lot more than what one is paying is sufficient source of comfort, provided one also has diversification. So when you combine this style of seeking margin of safety with diversification, you really are able to implement those three ideas that we talked about earlier.